Today, we're going to be talking about the anchored volume profile. We're going to be doing a tutorial on what this is, how to set it up on your charts, and how I use it to be a successful trader. So let's first get into how to set the volume anchored profile on your charts. The anchored volume profile is going to be the fifth one down here on your toolbar on the left-hand side. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to come down here to anchored volume profile. What I would do if I was you is put a little star next to it. That way it's in your favorite and basically it'll show up on your little toolbar. That way you don't have to keep coming over here, clicking and then coming all the way down here. You can just click it and put it where you want it. So essentially you just click that and you see I have it's highlighted now down here. And essentially what you want to do in order to get the bars on the right hand side, as it's not just like you click it and then it's like poof, it's on your chart. You have to click it and then you have to designate the area where you want to start the volume from. So the anchored volume profile is exactly what it sounds like. You are anchoring it to a single candle to show the volume from that point to current day. So let's take Tesla's all-time high back in November 1st, 2021. We are going to go to that candle right here, and we are going to click on that candle. Now you see this little shaded box that pops up. That shaded box, you usually don't see it on my chart when I'm using when I'm using the anchored volume profile, because I have it blacked out to sink into the background. Just because I post a lot of charts and videos of my technical analysis on X and YouTube and TradingView, so I have it completely blacked out because I know where I'm putting it on my charts and my trades. I'm never going to be in so many trades that I just don't even know where I put it, right? And if you want to know where you put it, say you click off of it and you do block this out in the back, all you have to do is click on the anchor volume profile over here. Click on the bars, and this little blue dot will pop up exactly where you have it anchored to. So again, it's anchoring it to a singular candle, and you can see from that candle on 1 November 2021, it shows you the volume profile all the way up to present day. Right? And there's a weekly chart we're looking at. So you can do this on any chart. You can do this on a daily chart. And see, once you flick over to a daily chart, it still takes it from that high. It just will show a little bit different because now we're looking at daily candles instead of weekly candles. So I'm going to repeat that just so everybody's crystal clear. So one, you come on over here to the fifth item down on your left-hand side on your toolbar, and you come on down here to the anchored volume profile. And then you're going to take that and you're going to click it onto the candle that you want to add it to start your volume profile from that day forward. Now, let's get into a little bit more of the settings before we get into where you would want to put the anchored volume profile and how I personally use it. So when we pull up our settings here, it's probably going to show a little bit different than yours. I already have mine preset. So if you want to take my settings, that's totally fine. You can use my settings that I use. I use a 30, and your row size is essentially telling you this is how many rows of volume it's going to show on the right-hand side. And just so you know, you can put this on the left-hand side as well if you wanted to. I like to use a 30 because if we go down to 20, it gets very bulky. And if we go up to say 100, it gets very minute and small, right? So for me personally, I found a 30 to be perfect. 100 on the volume area is also what I use. I don't know if that's the preset or not. Like I said, I already have mine all preset. But the row size is the most important for me personally. Now, if you went up to a monthly chart, maybe you want to bring this down to a 20, I would say. And if you go to a daily chart, maybe you want more finite details depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to swing trade, let's just say we're trying to be swing traders on a daily chart. Well, I think this looks good, but let's just say, you want to get more detail right in here. Well, at that point, you would double click on this and then maybe bump it up to 50. And now you see we get a little bit more detail. Maybe we want a little bit more detail than that. We bump it up to 75, right? And you could start seeing it be more little smaller bars and more defined and seeing this gap, right? So right now we can see, Tesla probably has a gap up to 331, where before, we could still kind of see that, but we can see it a little bit more finite now with more rigidness, right? So let's get back into the settings here. Let's move on to style. So mine is just a singular color, and that's because that is how I choose to have it. Now, the thing you have to understand is you have up volume and value area up, and then you have down volume and value area down. Yes, how it comes normally is going to be green for up, red for down, green for up, red for down. And it's like a Christmas tree. And what this is stating is red and down means selling volume. Green and up means buying volume. So it shows you the buyers and sellers. Now, for me personally, I rather just have the volume bar down here and see the buyers and sellers for the day or the week, or see if there's more buyers or sellers by what color the bars are down here, whether they're green or red or so on and so forth. So I'm not really, for my personal strategy, I'm not really a fan of these colors over here. And also, like I said, I post a lot of charts, so I don't want anything crazy. My charts are already very defined, so I already like to have um I'm just going to go back. I already like to have just, you know, pretty neutral colors because I want to focus on my charting and what I'm looking at. I don't want people off focusing on the Christmas tree over here. So the last thing I really want to talk about is we can move in here um, with these different indicators. And I personally don't use any of them, so I'm not really going to speak on them. Um, I truly believe because in these indicators, essentially, it really breaks down into where it'll give you your support and resistance lines, and it'll give you your largest volume lines and your smallest volume lines, and it'll really like paint some lines on here for you. I don't feel like you need that. If you feel like you need it, you can definitely mess around with turning some of them on, and tops and bottoms. So these are just drawing where you have it drawn to in the bottom of where the lowest point was, where you have it from. So it's showing you the top, it's showing you the bottom. You can add on the POC, which is basically your central point and your largest volume area. You could add on the developing POC. Again, I don't use any of these. So I like all of them turned off. And if you want this box back here, this shaded box, you can come down here to histogram box. And essentially you can make it whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable with seeing. Like I said, I have mine blacked out, so I can't even see it because I don't need it. Because all I have to do is essentially, I can't see it. I have no idea where I started it at. Right? I just come here, click here, or I can even just hover over it. But I'll click it, and you see it highlights it down here on the date, and it highlights it right here with a blue bubble. So now that we understand how to set up the anchored volume profile, let's talk about how to use the anchor volume profile for trading purposes. So how I personally use the anchored volume profile, it's one of my 5 key indicators that I use for my high 5 setup. And with my high 5 setup, it takes in several different indicators, like I said. But we're just going to stick to talking about this today. If you want to know more about my high 5 setup, give me a follow on X, give me a follow on YouTube, on TradingView. I post several charts and setups and analysis and trade executions, and we're doing very well with the setup. So that's my one little plug. give me a follow, give me a like if you appreciate this demo and tutorial on what is the anchored volume profile, how to set it up on your chart, and how to use it. So how you really want to use this is how you would think you'd want to use it. And I know that sounds very vague, but before I say anything, I just want you to look at where we drew the anchored volume profile. Where did we draw it? I'll give you a second to think about that. Okay. We drew the anchored volume profile from the highest point, the all-time high of Tesla. Now pause the video. Why do you think we did that? Okay. Hopefully you paused the video and you had time to think about it. And if you said to yourself, we're probably drawing it from the all-time high because that is taking in all of the volume since that point, that is very important, just like taking all the volume from the lowest point in recent times, right? We're not going to go all the way back here because things were a lot different, right? But in recent times, so we would say the last 3 to 4 years, right? In recent times, we want to go from our highest point to our most recent, or our lowest point to most recent. And I'll give you the best baseline to understand when to do which one, right? Where Tesla is right now, it is exploding to the upside. We have overcome most of this downside all up in here. All of this volume right in this box has been overcome. And we have gotten really far away from our volume shelf at this point. So the fact that we're very far away from our volume shelf tells us that we need to move this back and put it up here because it gives us more data. And with more data, we can make more informed trades and better trades. Because now, instead of only being able to see down here the volume, now we can see all the way up to all-time highs. And what do we see right off the bat? And I already cued at this earlier, but what we see is that yes, we launched off this volume shelf right here, and we had this volume gap up to about 290 to 310, and Tesla is on such a roar right now that it's busted through that, and now we are up to and approaching this gap and actually almost hitting it at 330, 332 ish to about 343. So we are moving up to fill this gap right here, and it tells us a lot. So what I mean, so let me break this down. Sometimes I forget it's a tutorial. What I mean by a volume gap is essentially where you have volume sticking out all the way to here, right? You have volume protruding out, more so here and here, creating a gap. Let me get this arrow. Creating a gap right here. And what that really means is that when we get in this area right here from about 309.40 to about 330, it just means that historically, and all for the entire existence of Tesla, because this is it for the anchored volume profile, because we are taking it from the highest point and it has never been up here besides this point on. So what this means right here is that we have a small amount of volume, almost the smallest amount of volume dated back down to here in 100 to 160. And what that really means is that when you have this shorter amount of volume here, it really means that you can move more seamlessly and easily through that area. Because when you have A volume shelf of some sort or protruding volume here means you have more volume, um, more energy to push the stock higher because there's more buyers and sometimes sellers in here. But if we're on an uptrend, the buyers are beating the sellers, and you're going to have more volume, which means more buyers into this name, pushing this stock higher. And essentially, when they're pushing it, it's going to be able to move through ease through this area because the buyers and sellers in this area, the volume has been historically much smaller. So you should be able to push seamlessly through this area. And then once you get to the next protruding volume area, the next volume shelf, essentially, you might face some resistance with sellers. And typically, your volume shelves and your volume gaps, more so your volume shelves, will go along with support and resistance lines. And that's going to be a separate video I do. I'm going to be doing a ton of, breakdown, very beginner level trading videos, support and resistance, trend lines, pattern recognition. I'm going to be doing all these videos. So definitely stay tuned. Give me a follow, hit the bell if you want to know more of these videos and more of these breakdowns. So that, in essence, is why it's called a volume gap, because you are in an area where it's going to be easier to move through that area, typically. And with that, the two main things that I look for as a trader with the volume profile is I want to be at some sort of shelf, because that shelf, just like I say, it's shelf, is like a support beam. It's like a support. It's a support beam that's reaching out to your stock and saying, "Hey, I got you. Just stay right here. You can stay standing on the beam. I'm sturdy and I got you, right?" And when you're sitting there and you have other indicators, like I talk about my high five setup, that are flowing higher and starting to uptrend, you will find that when you're sitting on this beam and you have these indicators going your way and you have momentum coming in the stock, this beam then turns into a launch pad that basically launches your stock to the upside when you have everything going in its direction. So it's not the holy grail. Just because you're sitting on a volume shelf doesn't mean that you're automatically going to go up, because as we see here, it got to the volume shelf here, but then it broke down to the gap. And you see how fast it flew down through that gap. And then once it got back up, it got here and then it pulled back to the volume shelf. And then it launched off the volume shelf and kind of moved through here a little easier because it's less volume. So let's recap, because I'm pretty sure I went over everything I could on this. If you think I missed anything in this video, definitely drop a comment down below. That maybe I could do a better video in the future, more in depth. Maybe I missed something. I would be definitely happy to make a separate video and add something on and then edit the video and put it all back together and spit it back out there, right? So, but let's recap. So in order to put the anchored volume profile on your chart, all you're going to do is come over here to your toolbar. You're going to come 5 down, and typically your long range, this little symbol right here, which is your long position, that's going to be sitting right there on your 5th one down, and you just click it, right? You just click this little arrow on the side to the right side of it, pulls up a drop down menu, and you come down here to anchored volume profile, and you're going to tether the anchored volume profile to where you want it to be from the date that you want it to be, from the date that you want the volume going from. So like I said, 1 November 2021, or down here from the bottom upwards. And then if you get it, I'll even say if you get into smaller, like a daily chart or less, hourly, 4-hour, 15-minute, you're going to want to take it from the low, from the pivot point, essentially. So if the stock pivoted right here and started moving higher, well, then you're going to want to take it from that low. If the stock started here at the top, right here, before it pivoted to the downside, then you're going to want to start it from there. So essentially, you're going to want to attach the anchor volume profile to the pivot point. And depending on the pivot point, depends on your chart time frame, but also where you're at. Like I said, with Tesla being where it's at, we have to go now from all-time highs. Because if we go to the bottom here, it's not giving us anything. It's basically useless. This indicator is now useless because we have it down here at the bottom. We don't want useless indicators on our charts. But with this now going from the top, now we can see the volume up here from all-time high areas. And now we can understand where Tesla will be able to move seamlessly through, where we will maybe face some resistance. Oh, and we will also see where we might be pulling back. And Tesla has been rising higher and higher and higher very fast. And somebody asked me today, they said, I'll give you a follow if this was on X. I said, I'll give you a follow if you can tell me where Tesla's going to pull back to. And we're going to give you a little tidbit on support and resistance. But I said, okay, cool. I'll take an extra follower. I'm a small account and I'm trying to grow and help as many people as I can. So your support and resistance line just so happens to be at the volume shelf right here that we've already come over top of. And there's two things that you could tell why you can tell Tesla's going to pull back to this area right here around $300. One is this volume shelf right here, because to come all the way back down here would be a little crazy. It could definitely happen, but we have to look at the most recent and the closest volume shelf. And though it's a small volume shelf, we have to go by the closest one. We have this gap here, like I said, and now we have this volume shelf, which is the closest one, and that volume shelf is right at from 290 to about 310. Not just that, but we can draw a line across here, and what do we see? We see back in 2021, we hit this resistance multiple times. And what resistance is where a stock comes up, hits this imaginary line, which back here you wouldn't have known that. You would have just been like, you maybe could have did that, right? You wouldn't have known it crossed all the way across. But back then you would have just been like, okay, there's some resistance there. But you get strong resistance when you touch or bounce down, you reject off of an area multiple times. So one time, two time, and these are clusters too, and these are on the weekly chart. So if you go to the daily, that's going to be a lot of touches and rejections off this chart. Two, you rejected off of it. Three, you rejected off of it here in 2023. This second one was in 2022, and we didn't reject off of it here. We finally busted through to the upside after all-time highs. And the thing is, once you come over this, what will happen is you'll pull back typically and you'll retest it. And essentially, when you can't get through an area multiple times, it's resistance. When you finally get through that area, you pull back to that resistance area and you bounce off of it back up higher. It's no longer resistance. It is now support, because it's supporting your stock instead of being a la resistance. Do you understand? When you come up here, you bounce off. It's resisting you. It's resisting you. It's resisting you. But then when you break up, it's supporting you. It's supporting you. And then once you break down, it then becomes resistance again right there. Then once you break up, you think it's going to be support again. It might not be. You break back down, and now it's back to resistance. So, like I said, I'm going to be having more in-depth videos. Sorry, this is going to be a little longer now because I just did that whole write-up. But hey, an extra piece of information for you on this Friday night for you. So, yeah. Again, I think I covered it all. We recapped everything, and Yeah, drop a comment below what you thought about this. I'm thinking about making others, but I definitely would like some feedback on maybe where I can and do better, or what else you would like to see if I'm not being basic enough, if I'm not being clear enough, whatever it may be. I'm always open to feedback. I want to be my best self to help others and teach and mentor in the trading world. I know a lot of people out there are just getting started with trading, or uh, at the beginning levels. And I know my current content on X is more advanced, but I want to bring more people along with me. And I'm so open to bringing new and beginner traders as well, and teaching you all through these types of videos. So if you enjoyed it, give it a like, give me a follow. You won't be disappointed. And all I'm trying to do here is help people become better traders or become profitable traders. So I appreciate you if you stuck around to the end of the video, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Have a great night. Bye.